Here's the front page. Out of national news this morning, New York City cannot contain or take care of 110,000 illegal migrants. This from the London Daily Mail. New York's police officers will face overtime cuts despite increased crime as the city continues to struggle with the financial toll of the migrant crisis that has overwhelmed the Big Apple. Upwards of 110,000 migrants are littered across the New York area, most arriving in the last 18 months from the southern border. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has warned the issue could cost taxpayers $12 million and destroy the city. Jacques Giha, the city's budget director, has told not just the police department, but fire, sanitation, and corrections to drastically reduce overtime. The move is part of a citywide budget restriction to help find money to pay for the swell of migrants. The situation might even lead city shelters to force migrant women and children to live in tents because of overcrowded facilities. Out of Fox News, Governor Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, cited one of New York City's most dangerous, or make that most famous, crooners to ding the Big Apple's mayor after Eric Adams complained about the city's illegal immigrant overflow and referred to the Texas Republican governor as a madman. Frank Sinatra's New York, New York is long defined the city that never sleeps, but its most famous boast may not entirely benefit the current mayor, Abbott told Jesse Waters Primetime on Fox News yesterday. When asked if he is indeed a madman, Abbott fired back that Adams instead is the outrageous one. Quote, "When I first heard that, I thought about Frank Sinatra singing New York, New York when he sang, 'If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere.' Well, Mayor Adams may have made it to be mayor of New York, but he couldn't last a week in Texas." House Speaker Kevin McCarthy may agree on an impeachment inquiry this week. This from Fox News. Fox News Digital has confirmed that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the Republican from California, will tell House Republicans today that beginning an impeachment inquiry against President Biden is, quote, "the logical next step." The House GOP conference plans to hold a meeting Thursday morning for key committee chairs to lay out their latest findings and the status of the investigations into the Biden family. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Representative Jim Jordan, the Republican from Ohio, House Oversight Committee Chairman Representative James Comer, the Republican from Kentucky, are expected to lead the meeting on Thursday. This special conference meeting will be in addition to Wednesday morning's regularly scheduled GOP meeting, where leadership typically lays out priorities for the week. USA Today reports the Food and Drug Administration yesterday authorized an updated COVID-19 vaccine aimed at more recent viral variants. The move has been expected since early this summer when an advisory committee recommended the move. A different advisory committee meets today to recommend how the vaccine should be used. COVID-19 infections have been rising since early July. This is according to data from the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. And hospitalizations are up nearly 16%, deaths nearly up 17% in the week that ended on Thursday compared to the week before, although totals remain well below previous peaks of the disease. Out of state news this morning, New Mexico, the governor suspended the Second Amendment. The sheriff said no. This from Fox News. Democrat New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is facing widespread pushback from state law enforcement officials following her attempt to ban concealed and open carry permits. Bernalillo County Sheriff Judge John Allen, described Grisham's 30-day public health order as unconstitutional during a press conference this week, despite standing beside the governor during the rollout of her policy. Quote, "It's unconstitutional. There's no way we can enforce that order," said the sheriff in a news conference yesterday. "This ban does nothing to curb gun violence." Allen claims he pressured against the public health order, saying that Governor Grisham knew as law enforcement we did not agree with the order, and as a result, this was solely her decision. Grisham fired back at Allen following the press conference, ordering law enforcement officials to stop being squeamish about enforcing her order. Out of Pennsylvania, Fox News reports a school district in southeastern Pennsylvania announced that all schools and offices will be closed today, as Danilo Cavalcante, who remains on the run after he escaped from prison nearly 2 weeks ago, is now armed. This according to police. The superintendent of the Owens J. Roberts School District in Pottstown said as a result of increased police activity in our community related to the pursuit of an escaped inmate from Chester County Prison, and after consultation with state and local law enforcement, we have made the decision to close all schools and offices in our district today. Pennsylvania State Police said on social media that Cavalcante, 34 years old, now has a .22 caliber rifle and that residents in the area should, quote, lock all doors and windows, secure vehicles, and remain indoors. They also said that officers were pursuing Cavalcante in the area of Ridge Road, Coventryville Road, and Daisy Point Road in South Coventry Town Point in Chester County. Out of Alabama, the Supreme Court has issued a redistricting decision, and that is causing an epic debate. This from USA Today. Alabama officials filed an emergency appeal at the Supreme Court late yesterday, asking the justices to review their controversial congressional map decision that critics say dilutes black voting power. While the lawsuit is technically limited to Alabama, the outcome will affect other legal challenges to congressional districts, particularly in the South. Together, those cases could give African Americans more power to choose congressional candidates, and it could give an advantage to Democrats in the 2024 election. The appeal came days after a federal court in Alabama struck down that state's congressional map for not including a second majority African American district or something close to it. Alabama's map includes one of 7 districts where African Americans make up a majority of voters, even though African Americans make up 27% of the state's population. Also in politics today, former President Donald Trump asked federal judge Tanya Chutkan to recuse herself. Former President Donald Trump is asking Judge Tanya Chutkan to recuse herself from the 2020 election subversion case against him brought by special counsel Jack Smith. Trump, in a new court filing that happened yesterday, pointed to comments that Chutkan made in cases involving January 6th U.S. Capitol rioters. He argued that there was little doubt that reasonable members of the public might believe she has prejudices in both facts pertinent to the case and President Trump's alleged culpability. In a highly charged political season, naturally all Americans, and in fact the entire world, are observing these proceedings closely. Only if this trial is administered by a judge who appears entirely impartial could the public ever accept the outcome as justice. The Trump team quotes an October 2022 sentencing hearing in which Chutkan said, quote, "The people who mobbed the Capitol were there in fealty, in loyalty to one man, not to the Constitution. It's a blind loyalty to one person who, by the way, remains free to this day." Also, in December of 2021, at a sentencing hearing, Chutkan told another Capitol riot defendant that, quote, "The people who exhorted you and encouraged you and rallied you to go and take action and to fight have not been charged," unquote. The White House has fired back on stories about President Biden's age and stamina. This from The Hill. The White House is lashing out at the media's fixation on President Biden's age and his stamina for executing the job, seeking to go on the offense on an issue that polls suggest is one of President Biden's biggest vulnerabilities in his re-election campaign. Aides in a series of local Make That Social media posts took direct aim at news stories and headlines, even those from left-leaning publications relating to the 80-year-old's president's age, suggesting it was a lazy narrative that encouraged and ignored President Biden's marathon trip in Asia over the last 5 days. Principal Deputy Press Secretary Olivia Dalton took issue with a CNN headline that highlighted an awkward end to Biden's press conference Sunday in Hanoi, in which Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre interrupted him while the president was still responding to a question from a reporter in the room. Out of international news, Fox News is reporting the Biden administration has struck a deal with Iran to swap prisoners and release $6 billion in frozen Iranian funds. Per the deal, Iran will release 5 American citizens detained in Iran and the U.S. release of 5 Iranian citizens being held in the U.S. The deal creates a blanket waiver to transfer $6 billion in frozen Iranian money from South Korea to Qatar without fear of violating U.S. sanctions. No money is going directly to Iran. No U.S. taxpayer funds are being used. Secretary of State Antony Blinken signed off on the deal late last week. Congress was not notified of the decision until Monday, the 22nd anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks. This according to the notification, which was obtained by the Associated Press. Last night, Monday Night Football, the 2023 season debuts. The Jets won the game, but they lost their quarterback. This being reported by USA Today, Monday Night Football ended with the Jets fans in jubilation thanks to undrafted rookie Xavier Gipson's 65-yard walk-off punt return to defeat the Buffalo Bills in overtime 22-16. But the Jets also left drained as quarterback Aaron Rodgers suffered a potentially season-ending injury, feared to be a significant Achilles tear that could dash any measure of expectations placed on the team by themselves, their fan base, and the football world. You felt the life leave the stadium, Jets running back Dalvin Cook, who was also making his Jets debut. He told USA Today Sports, "A guy like that, you don't not feel it." Said running back Breece Hall about Rodgers' injury, "It sucks, bro. I'm happy about the win, but I'd rather have that guy on the team, so it just sucks." And finally, from the arts, Steven Tyler has injured his vocal cords. He is going to postpone several dates of the Aerosmith farewell tour. This from Fox News. Steven Tyler suffered vocal cord damage following Aerosmith's concert on Saturday in Chicago, forcing the band to postpone a string of upcoming shows on their farewell tour. Quote, "I'm heartbroken to say I've received strict doctor's orders not to sing for the next 30 days, Tyler shared on the band's social media platforms yesterday. "I sustained vocal cord damage during Saturday's show that led to subsequent bleeding. We'll need to postpone a few dates so that we can come back and give you the performance you deserve. It is unclear whether Tyler will require further medical attention after the vocal rest." Rescheduled dates on the tour included stops in Detroit, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Toronto, Raleigh, and Cleveland.